Wednesday morning here on KSJE, and guess who is joining us from the Encouragement Lab? None other than Dr. Mike Hattabaugh, who is here with us as always. Dr. Hattabaugh, good morning.
Good morning, Scott.
Thank you for being with us as always, and it's the day before Thanksgiving, so what else to talk about but friends and friendship, huh?
Friendship, yeah. You know, we could talk about just what we're thankful for, and that'd be the typical Thanksgiving thing to do, right? But I want to dive deeper into that because we have a crisis in our culture. Something like 40% of us say we have no close friends.
Wow, that's a lot to me.
40% of us.
Okay.
And I think there's a dynamic, and they've studied this, and we know some details about it. But a lot of it is, I think, this is more just my long-term professional communication, relationship expert kind of stuff at play here, is that we want our friends to take risks with us, but we're unwilling to take risks to have friends.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Friendship is about taking risks.
Right.
It's about being vulnerable. It's about saying, I'm going to reveal myself to you in a way that I don't to everybody else. And that requires risk. So that's, and it's also very intentional. I know a lot of people that go, oh, I just don't have any friends. And I'll say, what are you doing about that? And the answer is usually nothing.
Interesting.
So be intentional. So true story from my life. A couple years ago, I was in a situation where, our kids are now empty nesting and we're down to just one at the house. And I realized that for 20 years we had kind of cloistered around our family and we had quit making outside relationships, specifically that weren't related directly to something, where we just said, you know what? Do we intentionally have friends in our life that we can go and spend time with and enjoy each other's company and just bounce back our thinking and just besides my wife, who's certainly a great friend, but there's also a different dynamic there. We also have to do life together every day. And with a friend, you don't have to. So I can tell you that I've been on this journey myself, and I have a friend that we have coffee every week together. And as of about 4 weeks ago, we now even have a business together, and it's a consulting business with businesses, and it's a friendship that's grown into that because we've learned to trust each other. And so I just want to challenge people, if you're lonely this Thanksgiving, if on this Wednesday morning or whenever you listen to the podcast of this, you're going, wow, I sure would like to have some friends, is first of all, widen your boundaries a little bit. Be willing to accept a friend that's not like you, may not think like you, believe like you, because that's good. Believe it or not, that's healthy. We've kind of lost that too in our culture. But secondly, take a risk. And guess what? Maybe the first person or the second person or the 10th person you have coffee with, you don't connect to well. You will eventually if you keep making yourself vulnerable. So take that risk, be vulnerable, and then you'll find somebody that you feel comfortable with and that feels comfortable with you, and guess what? Then you'll have a friend.
Interesting. Well, but it sounds like this certainly I know too, I think this takes a while to develop a friendship. It can't happen overnight, correct? You're going to be willing to invest the time, right?
Well, and it can't just be a purely selfish thing where it's, I just want a friend, will you be my friend? Because that comes across as needy.
Yes.
You've got the desire to give something of yourself to somebody else to be a friend.
Right. But that
does take time.
That back and forth, I was going to say, takes time to develop that from an acquaintance to maybe a better friendship, right? Eventually.
Very, very much so. But again, that's about taking those risks. And sometimes friendships can develop really fast, depending on the scenario. But the older we get, as we get into our adult years, it's just tougher for us to make that. If nothing else, it's tougher in our culture right now to make the time to connect. But I've yet to find anybody that truly says, I don't have time for that. You do have time. It's just you've got to figure out what it is you're going to give up. Maybe you're not going to watch that new series on Netflix tonight. You're going to go have coffee with somebody.
Right. And that's important. That's making time for this important thing in your life, which I can understand. And a great story from your life, Dr. Hattabaugh, as parents and families get older and find themselves maybe without the kids running around the house all the time, mom and dad may find that they need to have other friends outside of the household.
Well, and I think we do. We kind of get wrapped up in our own circle, and that's fine. It's just realize that there comes a season in life that if you don't make that transition back to having friends outside of your family, and again, every family is unique. You've got to adapt to whatever your particular situation is. But like I said, you've got to be intentional. That's the point. Is wherever you're at in your life, if whatever you desire in a relationship with other people, whether it's friends or even a romantic relationship, you've got to be intentional. You've got to say, do I know what I'm looking for exactly? And is it too picky because that person may not exist? Or is it reasonable and I'm not here to agree with my best friend on anything, but it sure is nice to know that, I have somebody that wants to hear about my life every week. And that's a pretty amazing, again, my wife always wants to do that, but to add that dynamic of another friend that's really outside of my really intimate relationship is been wonderful. And my wife's been socializing more in ways that she hasn't done in years, and I think it's just really healthy for us at this time. And again, that's our dynamic. But wherever you're at, if you feel, I know that it's a holiday week, and we know that holiday weeks people feel lonely. True. And so what I'm saying is start the journey. Even if, this Thanksgiving you go to a coffee shop and just hang out by yourself for a while, take a moment to look around, see who else is hanging out by themselves. And it's amazing how often you can create a friend just right there. And somebody that's just, we're both having coffee. Why not have a conversation?
Could be good. Good advice, Dr. Hattabaugh. And again, we have Thanksgiving this week, but it won't be long before the next holiday rolls around. So if you make steps now, you might have a friend by Christmas.
And that's, and that's the loneliest holiday of the year for a lot of people.
That's true.
So get started now so that maybe this holiday season is not so lonely.
Good advice. As always, Dr. Mike Hattabaugh, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm grateful for your friendship, by the way, if I haven't told you that recently.
Me too, Scott. We have a lot of history. We could have talked about our story because I think it's pretty interesting. But
well, that's true.
Have a great Thanksgiving to you and your family and everyone that's listening.
Exactly, and you too. Thanks, Dr. Hattabaugh. Dr. Mike Hattabaugh from the Encouragement Lab. He is with me every Wednesday right here on KSJE Farmington.